Exposed. The transformative moment. I discovered my son's wedding nameplate labels me as a charity case. The bustling bridal expo felt like a carnival, yet Sarah's heart sank like a lead weight when she spotted the table adorned with wedding nameplate labels. With every fiber of her being, she wanted to ignore the insistent pull inviting her to the booth, but curiosity snagged her, drawing her closer. The moment she picked it up, her breath caught in her throat. There, bold and mocking, was her name. Beneath the venomous title, Charity Case. A cruel label, effortlessly underscoring the unspoken judgments she navigated daily. It twisted her stomach in knots, allowing the tendrils of insecurity to tighten around her heart. As she stumbled back from the table, a whirlwind of emotions crashed into her. Pain and fury collided with shame and frustration, a maelstrom of contradictions that threatened to swallow her whole. How could the world strip away her worth so easily, defining her through the lens of economic status, rather than the love and resilience she poured into raising Jake? Each face she passed on her way out seemed to echo the disdain she'd felt all too often in this affluent community. Could she ever escape the suffocating label she never asked for? Could she protect Jake from it? Visions of her father flickered through her mind, laughter entwined with recounts of hardship. He'd maintained unwavering faith in their family's grit, despite bearing the brunt of financial struggle. Unearthing his letters from the dusty attic hadn't merely revealed his secrets, but had ignited a flicker of defiance long dimmed by doubt. His words, a silent pact forged in hope, spurred an urgent duty within her, to reclaim the narrative that society so clumsily sought to write for her. Before she could analyze her thoughts further, her phone buzzed, an irritating reminder of the mundane responsibilities that awaited her. Yet at this moment, those responsibilities felt like chains, dragging her back into a life she dared not open fully. The recognition of being a single mother, the struggles at the law firm, and the worry that her son would never see his worth beyond their modest circumstances tugged incessantly at her. Could she turn this moment of anguish into something transformative? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Back in her reality, the walls of the law firm loomed ahead, each one thick with judgment. Sarah felt the pressure surge. The upcoming event was a social minefield waiting to erupt. The very thought of facing her colleagues, especially the one who'd made the charity case comment, sent waves of unease through her. Would she be merely the underdog, or could she elevate her voice above the whispers? An impending confrontation swirled in her mind, feeding anxiety until she was nearly paralyzed with fear. Could she point out their ignorance and shine a light on the complexities of her experience? Her muscles tensed as she envisioned their reactions. The moment would come, and she'd have to stand tall and fight. As the date approached, the walls felt closer. The air, dense with tension. Every heartbeat echoed a question. Would she find the courage to represent her family, her roots, and break the cycle? And as she tightened her resolve, preparing for the ultimate test, a sudden commotion broke through her thoughts. The office door swung open, heralding unexpected guests, their presence threatening to unravel everything she had steeled herself for. Panic surged through her. This was the moment, yet the unfolding scene was anything but predictable. Would they thwart her chance to reclaim her identity? Would Sarah find her voice before the moment slipped away? The atmosphere shifted as the unexpected guests filed into the law office, laughter crackling through the air like static. Sarah's heart raced, each thud resonating with her mounting anxiety. It was a group of high-profile partners, the kind of people who floated above the everyday grind, perpetually polished and painfully oblivious. All eyes fell on her, flickering between recognition and mock sympathy. Could they perceive the inner turmoil she was desperate to keep hidden? A sharp pang of indignation shot through her. This was the very dynamic she had been fighting against, the sense of being judged, reduced to her economic circumstances, overshadowed by their gleaming successes. Yet with every second ticked away, a battle brewed within Sarah. Instead of retreating further into vulnerability, could she perhaps unearth the confidence forged from pain? Casting about for something, anything, to anchor her sanity, she recalled her father's unwavering resilience. He thrived amid struggles, executing a fierce loyalty to integrity when facing scorn. Churning from the recesses of memory, his voice urged her forward. She could channel his strength, dismantling the notion that a single mother amounted to a charity case. This was her moment, a swift flicker of purpose that sparked into a flame. As she rose from her chair, the shift of energy became palpable. There was urgency behind Sarah's steps, and the way she straightened her shoulders commanded attention. A few colleagues glanced at one another, surprised at her sudden boldness. But the partners remained oblivious, their laughter a curtain over her burgeoning determination. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steady yet filled with steel, cutting through the haze of casual chatter like a knife. Silence rippled through the room as all eyes turned to her. Curiosity piqued. This was her chance to reclaim the narrative, to take the labels that had clung to her, and turn them into declarations of strength rather than weakness. The lead partner, a suave man with a well-groomed beard and unimposing demeanor, raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet dismissive. "Yes, Sarah? What is it?" She inhaled deeply, crafting her words like a lawyer building a case. "I think it's necessary for us to address how labels affect not just individuals but entire narratives. I'd prefer not to be defined by a financial label, especially one I never asked for." There was a momentary hush, as if time itself had paused, granting Sarah a sacred space to gather her thoughts. She felt the weight of their stares, but no longer regarded them as judgmental. Instead, she saw an audience waiting for her to present her truth. Being a single mother does not equate to being a charity case. I have overcome hardships and achieved milestones that required diligence and tenacity. She let the words resonate in the air, her pulse quickening with each proclamation. "I'm proud of where I come from because it forged me into who I am today. A dedicated, capable attorney and a loving mother." The confident cadence in her voice rippled through the room, and for the first time, she felt the tide begin to shift. The partners whispered among themselves, their glances suddenly flush with a mix of surprise and something akin to respect. But just then, a flaring objection pierced the tension. A voice from the back, familiar and mocking, rose like an uninvited shadow. "Let's not romanticize struggle, Sarah. Some just don't have what it takes." That sneering tone fissured through her resolve, igniting a fresh surge of fury. Would she allow that dismissive challenge to extinguish the breakthrough she had worked hard to ignite? In that fraught instant, Sarah understood. The confrontation was not over yet. She had just begun to uncover the strength within, and she would not let another moment of shame silence her again. "Do you really believe that?" she shot back, the words launching out of her like fire. "Or are you too wrapped in your privileged world to understand what grit truly entails?" With this single act of defiance, Sarah reclaimed her narrative, but uncertainty lingered. Would her words penetrate the layers of arrogance? Or were they merely falling on deaf ears? And as the room swelled with an electrifying tension, Sarah breathed in the challenge ahead, aware that her journey was just beginning. The time had come to confront not only the misconceptions of others, but the insecurities that still lurked within her. Could this pivotal moment redefine her destiny? Would she emerge from this stronger than ever, or would she collapse under the weight of expectation once more? As she stood her ground, the future unfolded before her, an untamed canvas waiting for her strokes. Her heart beat rapidly, a relentless drum as she stood in the charged silence that followed her retort. The room had fractured into segments, some shimmering with newfound admiration, others hardened into disbelief. Sarah could feel the gravity of that sneering voice weighing heavily, daring her to falter. This was her arena now, and she had turned the tide. But the battle was far from over. She locked eyes with the source of the derision, a familiar figure cloaked in tailored misery. Roger, a senior partner who had swiftly climbed the corporate ladder, had smirked at her every misstep. In the sheltered bubble of his success, he exuded an aura of entitlement that had made her skin crawl for years. Now, with the collective gaze of the room upon them, she faced him with a resolve she scarcely believed she had. "Are you suggesting that struggle is something less than valid?" Sarah pressed, her voice steady. "You see resilience as something to mock, yet it's the foundation of true success." She felt her words swirling into the air like a whirlwind, attempting to pierce through his facade of confidence. A flicker of discomfort danced across Roger's face before he regained his composure. "Success speaks for itself," he retorted, but the steel in her gaze silenced him mid-sentence, causing him to shift slightly. Her heart quickened, not just from the confrontation but from the clarity it brought. She had spent her life chasing others' perceptions. Now, she was crafting her own truth. The conversation thrummed with a new energy, the collective disbelief transitioning to something akin to intrigue. She saw a few nodding in subtle affirmation, others appearing genuinely reflective. But that glanced approval was bittersweet. She knew it was far too easy to be swept back under the current of their expectations, to retreat behind the walls she had built to protect herself and her son. Taking a deep breath, Sarah pressed on, her words flowing smoother with each assertion. "Every achievement you celebrate comes from the grit and determination to overcome obstacles. If anything, your dismissiveness demonstrates a weakness of spirit. True leaders elevate others, not belittle them." With her declaration, the ancient walls that had constrained her began to crumble, revealing a deeper sense of purpose. She didn't just want to prove them wrong. She needed to redefine who she was in her own eyes. The memories of her father's struggles surfaced again, not as a burden, but as a torch guiding her through the fog of self-doubt. In that moment, she wasn't just a single mother. She was an authority, a force that could command respect by virtue of her journey. The realization settled into her bones, igniting a warmth that spread through her. Instead of seeking validation, she would cultivate confidence in her own abilities, a subtle but profound shift in her psyche. "Perhaps you're unaware," Sarah continued, her tone laced with conviction. "Life doesn't grant an easy path. It forges strength through hardship. And I stand before you, a testament to that. Fighting for my son, fighting for my role in this firm, and fighting for respect." The atmosphere thickened as her words resonated widely, the partners now visibly engaged. Sarah allowed the weight of silence to settle, letting the gravity of her assertion sink in. The questioning glances aimed at Roger showed how vulnerable he truly was beneath his polished surface. Yet, the uncertainty remained palpable. Could she maintain this newfound poise as she navigated the aftermath of this confrontation? Would they continue to underestimate her strength, or would they finally recognize her potential? As Roger huffed, his bravado faltering, Sarah felt an urge to pivot her gaze towards the others, her colleagues, her allies. Their support would be crucial in the days to come. The shift in perception might have begun, but the real test awaited beyond this moment. Now that I've exposed the layers of expectation, it's time to reveal what lies beneath, my true capabilities. As she took a step back, the murmurs began rising again, anticipation thrumming through the air. The room was no longer just an arena for judgment. It was becoming a proving ground for her identity. In this charged space, Sarah grasped the handle of her fate a little tighter. Yet, as she prepared to face the coming challenges, a profound realization dawned upon her. What if exposing herself led to even more profound conflicts within? The range of reactions could ignite the fire she sought or create deeper rifts. The uncertainty of her next steps loomed ahead, ready to test her resolve yet again. With the spotlight now on her, what profound revelations awaited in this uncharted territory? The room buzzed with energy as Sarah's declaration hung in the air, but clarity cut through the noise as she refocused on her next moves. The unexpected challenge to Roger had unearthed a wellspring of tenacity she barely recognized in herself. There was a distinct realization. Each moment spent tethered to fear was time lost to growth. But vulnerability surged unchecked alongside her newfound resolve. She stepped down from the metaphorical battleground, intent on solidifying her stance, not just in the eyes of the partners, but crucially, in her own. Angela, her closest ally, caught her eye. The warmth in Angela's smile was a small beacon of support amidst the tension. As she moved toward her, the moment felt pivotal, like a silent accord forged in the cauldron of confrontation. "Sarah, that was..." Angela started, but faltered. The astonishment lingered in the air, weighing down their words. "Let's not dissect it just yet," Sarah interjected, shaking off the adrenaline that still coursed through her. Instead, she directed her attention to the sea of faces. "What matters now is action. If I've sparked something here, we need to harness it." Angela nodded, her eyes sharp with understanding. "What do you have in mind?" The gears of Sarah's mind began to turn. Responsiveness was crucial. She couldn't afford to merely soak in admiration. "I want to schedule a meeting, a brainstorm session. I want to share not just my experience, but how we can create an environment that fosters collaboration," she declared. The assertiveness in her voice rang out clearer than before, energized by more than self-interest. She envisioned change that echoed beyond her individual aspirations. "Together? You really think?" Angela's query held a layer of disbelief, and Sarah's heart quickened again, but this time from conviction. "Yes, the potential lies within this room. We need to build trust and innovate." The renewed gaze of the partners filled Sarah with a heady mixture of hope and trepidation. What if the perception they had of her did change? What would be required of her to meet their expectations and her own ambitions? As she laid out her vision, a few more colleagues joined the conversation, finding resonance in her ideas. A mix of enthusiasm and skepticism weighed on their expressions, but vulnerability, her vulnerability, had opened a portal to dialogue, igniting a spark she could see ripple through the gathering. However, Roger's presence loomed like a storm cloud. Though he stood at the periphery, she felt the chill of his gaze. What if he sought to undermine her newfound authority? His reputation for manipulation was well known. That remained her hidden specter, threatening to burst her ambitious balloon. "Sarah," he called, finally stepping forward, his tone dripping with feigned camaraderie. "I hope you know where this discussion leads. The firm works on proven paths, not whims." Cutting through his taunt took every ounce of composure. Her heart thundered, but she leveled her gaze, relishing in the moment. "Innovation requires risk, Roger. Haven't you ever taken a leap?" His lips twisted in annoyance, the challenge igniting a spark of exhilaration within her. This was a chance not merely to defend herself, but to stand ground for all who felt underestimated. "Enough of this. Let's pool resources and elevate our output." She doubled down, her resolve shaping like steel under heat. As peers glanced between them, the tension was palpable. She wondered if she was forging allies or stoking a fire with the potential to boil over. In that charged moment, amid the draining pressure of her own heartbeats, clarity crystallized within her. She couldn't retreat. To falter now could mean locking herself back into a cage of fear. And as the meeting drew to a close, filled with open-ended plans and a sense of camaraderie that hadn't resided in this space before, Sarah knew she had taken a monumental step. But this was merely a beginning, one fraught with uncertainties and potential antagonism, as well as support. Would her fragile coalition hold against more seasoned rivals? With her stakes laden in both professional ambition and personal values, she felt a tightening around her chest, a strange mix of fervor and anxiety over what lay ahead. But the compass of her journey was now set. What new challenges lurked ahead with Roger's influence looming? With resolve brimming, she turned back toward her desk, heart racing as she began to sketch out her ideas. The path to recognition was as treacherous as it was necessary, but she now knew one thing for certain. She would not walk it alone. The echo of untested potential hung in the air, a tantalizing mystery. But more immediate concerns loomed closer. Would she be ready when the storm of Roger's retaliation hit? Sarah's fingers raced across her keyboard, energized by the whirlwind of ideas swirling in her mind. The confrontation with Roger had shattered the glassy facade she often wore, revealing a fervent commitment to change. Yet, beneath the exhilaration, doubt occasionally crept in, inaudible yet undeniably present. She could almost hear Roger's voice echoing in the halls of her mind, his venomous taunts reminding her of her previous hesitations. "Focus," she whispered to herself, breaking the spell of his disapproval. The conference room filled with the hesitant yet hopeful chatter of her colleagues awaiting the brainstorming session. She projected confidence, but internally, the stakes felt higher than ever. This wasn't merely about a meeting. It was about changing perceptions and establishing her place not just within the firm but within herself. Each moment stretched in anticipation, the clock ticking ominously as Sarah surveyed her team. Angela, always a steadying force, nudged Sarah's arm. "You've got this. Remember your vision." Suddenly, a wave of nostalgia washed over Sarah, a flicker of the days when she remained comfortably in the background, her voice stifled, her visions muted. She had lost too many opportunities cloaked in uncertainty. No more. As the group assembled, the atmosphere transitioned from tentative to energetic. Colleagues batted ideas back and forth. Brainstorming sessions typically felt like tug-of-war. But today, the ropes felt like they were tangling into something invigorating. Sarah sensed that vulnerability was not merely an emotional admission. It was a strategic asset. "Let's open with a provocative question. What does innovation mean to us?" she proposed, noticing the way the room fell silent. Curiosity piqued. This shift in rhythm, from consuming her fears to inspiring others to explore, was intoxicating. She encouraged them to share abstract thoughts, feeling their collective heartbeats align. As gentle voices morphed into louder ones, she watched confidence blossom in her team. For the first time, Sarah realized she wasn't just shaping plans. She was modifying the very essence of her work environment, building an unbreakable bond through shared ambition. And then Roger interrupted. The door swung open as he strolled in, his expression unfazed as if the previous confrontation never happened. "I see we're having a little party," he smirked, leaning against the doorframe. The moment felt inverted as all eyes turned to Sarah. Could this actually be her moment? The defining stance against his potential sabotage? The nervous energy in her chest transformed, spurring her to lay a solid foundation. "Roger, I'll have you know we're laying plans to enhance collaboration and boost creativity," she replied, her voice steadying like concrete setting in motion. "Would you like to contribute?" The unexpectedness in her invitation hung in the air. His scoffing laugh reverberated with malice. She could see the wheels spinning as he considered how best to undermine her. "But Sarah, it'll just be another one of those exercises that lead nowhere." This moment lingered, testing her resolve. What Roger projected was thick with disdain, a trademark defense mechanism that often silenced others. She turned it back on him. Innovation can feel risky, but stagnation is far more dangerous, isn't it? His annoyance intensified, evident in his tightening jaw, but Sarah felt empowered. She had faced him. His shadows no longer deterred her. As they exchanged quiet glances, she recognized a crucial shift, not just in her actions, but in her standing. There was now an undercurrent of support from her team, whispers of agreement circulating as they watched the two engage. She was no longer alone. Moments turned into minutes, and under Sarah's leadership, ideas flowed freely, redefining the potential of their collaboration. With each suggestion, she challenged her colleagues to think beyond the mundane, envisioning a space fertile with creativity and trust. Yet as the meeting recessed, leaving her feeling buoyant yet vulnerable, the echo of Roger's presence lingered. She felt a storm brewing, unpredictable and powerful. Sarah understood that this fledgling alliance still faced dark clouds. Could her fleeting support withstand the backlash? Would Roger's determination lead to a more formidable challenge than before? With renewed focus, Sarah returned to her desk, plagued by the fierce desire to prepare for what was to come. The path forward was fraught with ambiguity, yet she could not back down. Her resolve had solidified, but looming debt remained. In this fragile dance towards recognition and leadership, the question remained: how would she navigate the inevitable storm brewing with Roger waiting just outside the door? The following morning, the atmosphere in the office pulsed with an undercurrent of tension. Sarah arrived early, the habitual quietness of the workspace amplifying her thoughts. Today, she wouldn't just confront another meeting. She was gearing up to tackle infinite possibilities, shadows of doubt trailing behind her like a whispering ghost. She needed to keep moving forward. As she settled into her routine, her mind replayed the previous day's confrontation with Roger. It was a flicker of empowerment, a courage she had begun to cultivate. Yet the prospect of facing him again thrummed in her chest, a reminder that mere words wouldn't fortify her defense. The visceral sensation of vulnerability prickled her skin. With every passing moment, anticipation burgeoned. In a calculated effort to strengthen her position, Sarah strategized her next moves meticulously. Drawing inspiration from yesterday's brainstorming session, she envisioned creating a series of team-building workshops. Although the idea of vulnerability had initially sparked creative fire, the practical application of change needed to be anchored in avenues of trust and collaboration. This vision reignited her, replacing remnants of doubt with a robust sense of purpose. She began drafting a proposal, outlining objectives and potential activities, imagining how a simple team workshop could shift their culture, helping her peers to embrace candidness. Each stroke of the keyboard felt like a silent rebellion against the silence she once allowed Roger to impose upon her professional identity. She would no longer be a reluctant participant. She was stepping into her role as a creator. "Sarah," Angela's voice chirped from behind, halting her musings. Her colleague's joyful presence was a refreshing respite from the rising tension. "Guess who's here?" Sarah turned to see Roger approaching, confidence gleaming in his eyes. A multitude of strategies whirled through her mind, yet fear reminded her that vulnerability could render her susceptible to attack. She knew he would seize any opportunity to undermine her plans. The game was only just beginning. "Morning, Roger," she greeted, forcing a smile though her insides twisted with uncertainty. "Thought you could use my insights. I was thinking about your workshop idea," he said, leaning against her desk. His demeanor exuded nonchalance, but she sensed an undercurrent of intent behind his words. "Do you really believe your team will embrace that kind of openness? Evolution takes time, you know." The progression of her heart rate quickened as she felt a familiar instinct, the urge to retreat, to clasp the old, comforting habits of doubt. She paused, grounding herself in the moment. "I believe there's potential for genuine growth." The conviction emerged, and Sarah marveled at the clarity she felt, even in the face of Roger's skepticism. Trust might take time, but imagine what could happen if we cultivate it. His smirk faltered, but it was momentary. "And if they don't engage, what then?" "Then we adapt. Every opportunity is a chance to pivot and learn," she replied, surprised at the confidence in her words. It was a welcome change to deflect his challenges. Each word fortified her burgeoning resolve. With her heart still drumming in her ears, Sarah laid out the core objectives of the workshops: fostering a safe environment, promoting open dialogue, and building trust. She could feel Angela's support backing her from a distance, and it steadied her resolve. Instead of weaving in reasonable doubt, Sarah aimed to birth inspiration. "Your optimism is admirable, but be cautious, Sarah. Aim for realistic outcomes," Roger countered, his tone dripping with condescension. As she met his gaze, a surge of awareness cascaded through her. In that moment, an epiphany cloaked in vulnerability, she understood that the direction of her journey hinged not on Roger's validation, but on her unwavering commitment to change. The phone buzzed with a reminder of the upcoming meeting. "Let's put it to the test then," she boldly declared, determined to transform her fear into action. "After our session, we'll prioritize discussion on your thoughts, Roger. I welcome your critiques. This isn't about being right. It's about finding common ground." Roger's expression momentarily flickered with surprise, but he reined it in fast. The challenge she floated hung between them, heavy with potential. As the seconds ticked by, a visceral awareness settled in the room. Their encounter was not simply a clash of personalities, but an exploration of their capabilities. With renewed determination, Sarah focused her energy on making this workshop a reality, solidifying her belief in fostering creativity as not just a professional aim, but a personal conviction. The clock was ticking, and the stakes had never felt higher. But as she revisited her proposal and mentally prepared for the impending conflict, an unsettling question loomed. How far was she willing to go to protect her dreams? Would her resolve withstand the looming strikes Roger was sure to deliver during their meeting? The storm was brewing, and it was only a prologue to what was yet to come. The meeting room felt smaller than usual as Sarah entered. The stark walls shone with fluorescent lights, casting an unflattering glare on her colleagues seated around the polished table. Each face was a reflection of expectation and skepticism. Sarah took a deep breath. This was her moment to either solidify her stance or falter under scrutiny. With the proposal of her workshops resting upon the agenda, the tension was palpable. "Thank you all for gathering," she began, her voice steady despite the storm brewing within. She glanced at Roger, who leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. The challenge in his posture felt like a gauntlet thrown down, yet Sarah refused to be daunted. She wasn't merely defending her idea, she was advocating for a holistic shift in their work environment. As she outlined her objectives, detailing how the workshops aim to cultivate trust and open communication, she sensed the collective reluctance. Questions surfaced, but she anticipated them, framing each response with care. "We need this," she emphasized, her passion igniting confidence. "Growth comes from discomfort, and openness is essential to our success." Roger interjected before she could catch her breath. "This sounds nice in theory, Sarah, but you're asking for vulnerability. What if they don't respond? This is a business, and we focus on results." His dismissal lingered, and for a split second, doubt crept in. But she steeled her resolve. "What if they do?" she shot back. "What if embracing vulnerability leads to unprecedented creativity? Imagine the productivity gains from a team that trusts one another." The words tumbled out, fueled by her own metamorphosis. She had become the champion of her ideas. Silence dictated the room as her colleagues weighed her perspective. The air thickened with anticipation, and Sarah could feel eyes darting between her and Roger, a palpable tension that signified an internal divide. The stakes had escalated, and she found herself at the center of a power struggle. "Let's not forget about the deadlines we have to meet," Roger said as he leaned forward, eyes narrowing slightly. "We're here to deliver results, not therapy sessions." But Sarah had no intention of retreating. A part of her longed for old patterns of compliance, the comfort of knowing her place. Yet as she sat there, absorbing the weight of Roger's challenge, a flicker of revelation struck. Her past pointlessness would not define her future. This was not therapy, it was growth, and growth was vital for progress. "Exactly," she replied, leaning into the intensity of the moment. "By investing time in our people, we're improving not just morale, but also the quality of our output. High-performing teams are built on trust and collaboration, and these workshops will drive that. Another colleague, Clara, hesitated before speaking, her brow furrowed. What if we fail, Sarah? What if they don't take it seriously? Failure is part of the learning curve, Sarah countered, finding strength in the hesitance of others. Every step forward is a step towards understanding. Workshops aren't about having all the right answers. They're about asking the right questions. In that exchange, Sarah perceived an opening, a moment of connection. Perhaps Clara's uncertainty echoed her own fears. This understanding propelled her forward. As the meeting progressed, Sarah noticed subtle nods. Conversations shifted from apprehensive critiques to contemplative engagements. She had managed to stir curiosity, if not initial agreement. Each shared insight began constructing a foundation of shared purpose. But just as she sensed a shift, Roger cut through the dialogue with newfound impatience. You make it sound easy, but what's the actual plan if people aren't receptive? Do you have a contingency? This isn't a whim, Sarah. It's a significant risk. The question struck like a lightning bolt, illuminating her internal battle. She realized she had yet to address the underlying fears of failure explicitly. I'm open to feedback and adjustments, she offered, her voice unwavering. Adaptability is key. If we notice resistance, we'll recalibrate our approach. The room fell silent again, the tension suspended in the air. Feeling a flicker of hesitation, Sarah wrestled with her simultaneous lapse into doubt and her burgeoning confidence, refusing to let one overshadow the other. As the meeting concluded, the echo of her resolve lingered. The proposals would advance to the next planning session, and the potential for a transformative shift lay ahead. Yet beneath the exhilaration simmered its own set of uncertainties. The tension with Roger was unresolved, and she sensed this was only the beginning of a relentless battle. Yet she was armed with a new realization. Her journey was not solely about the workshops, but about the resilience she was nurturing within herself. Sarah grinned to herself, the anticipation of both fear and growth twined together. But as she exited the meeting, one glaring thought erupted with urgency. How powerful was the influence of doubt, and would she ever be free from its clutch? Another confrontation awaited, and this time it would demand more than words. It would test the very essence of her commitment to change. Sarah stepped into her office, the adrenaline from the meeting still coursing through her veins. The fluorescent lights felt oppressive, yet familiar. She could hear Roger's doubt reverberating in her mind like echoes in a cavern. This isn't a whim, Sarah. It's a significant risk. The words clawed at her, stirring a tempest of insecurity, but she was determined to resurface. In an effort to channel her thoughts, she instinctively reached for her journal, an old habit that had long served as her sanctuary. Flicking through the pages, she found her recent notes on leadership and growth, reflections from her past encounters. Memories of her struggles to find her voice flickered like old film reels, bringing warmth amid the lingering chill of Roger's challenge. She wrote, "Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to confront it." As she penned her thoughts, Sarah felt a shift. The words alleviated the weight on her chest. Somehow, crafting her thoughts into coherent sentences fortified her sense of purpose. But looming behind that newfound clarity lay the confrontation she dreaded with Roger. She knew he would never accept her workshops without proof, evidence of their potential efficacy. The pressure of time clawed at her. She would need a plan, an approach that not only reassured her colleagues, but also compelled them to recognize the workshops as an invaluable asset. She envisioned gathering metrics from her team, insights from industry studies, even testimonials from her previous engagements. Each detail she wrote felt like armor against the doubt she so desperately wanted to shake off. With a renewed focus, she began crafting a tangible proposal, one that merged data with her vision of transformation. What if she could frame the workshops not as a risk, but as an investment? As she developed this narrative, an unexpected curiosity sparked within her. The same woman who had been intimidated by Roger's skepticism now sought out criticisms with zeal. Later that afternoon, she approached Clara, who had seemed receptive during the meeting. "Can we talk about the proposal?" Sarah asked, engaging Clara in specifics about the concept. Their conversation flowed, building momentum. Clara's feedback was insightful, and together they dissected potential obstacles, sliding into deeper explorations of team culture and barriers to trust. "Maybe you're right about not having all the answers," Clara mused, her brow furrowed in concentration. "But it's the journey that matters, isn't it? As long as we keep pushing towards openness, we're succeeding." "Exactly," Sarah replied, surprised at how Clara's words mirrored her burgeoning resolve. Clara's perspective ignited a fire within Sarah, propelling her to gather a small group of colleagues to brainstorm ideas and strategies. However, the specter of Roger still loomed large over her budding collaborative efforts. Questions of what he would say, how he would react, swirled in her mind. Would he dismiss their efforts as idealistic? Would he undermine their hard work? These were not mere uncertainties. They were brick walls she needed to either scale or demolish. As evening settled into twilight, Sarah found herself creating a presentation that mapped out not only the workshops, but also included projected outcomes and alternative pathways if initial approaches faltered. The slides materialized into a visual representation of her journey, a transformation not just for the team, but of her own identity as a leader. Yet, in the depths of this planning, doubt surfaced anew. Was she merely building a facade to impress or a genuine bridge toward change? Each slide felt like a test of her authenticity. Lingering in doubt, she reached for her phone. "It's time to confront Roger," she whispered to herself, her heart racing in trepidation. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but vulnerability on her part would be an integrity check. This would be the moment she faced the hard truths, not just for herself, but for the entire team. With resolve steeling her muscles, Sarah hit dial, prepared to navigate the encounter she had dreaded. This time, it was not just business. It was a commitment to her growth and belief in her vision. But as she listened to the ringing, one daunting thought echoed. Would Roger see her transformation? Or would she simply become another victim of the doubt she fought to escape? The moment Roger picked up the phone, Sarah felt as if a dam had burst. All her carefully constructed arguments and metrics swirled in her mind, a chaotic mix of hope and fear. "Roger, I need to speak with you about the workshops," she said, her voice firm but betraying a hint of her underlying anxiety. "Now," he replied, his tone suggesting his impatience. The clock in her office ticked loudly, sounding almost ironic in contrast to the silence that loomed between them. She took a breath and plunged in, presenting her proposal not merely as an idea, but as a vision for change that was long overdue. As she spoke, she was hyper-aware of her own body language, the way her hands gestured slightly, the way she maintained eye contact even through the phone. She knew she had to project confidence, yet beneath the surface, she confronted a deep-seated doubt. What if this conversation crumbled as she struggled to contain her self-doubt? "Sarah, do you really think these workshops will yield any measurable results outside the realm of theory? You've been here long enough to know the distinction between ideas that sound good and ideas that deliver," Roger countered, his skepticism palpable. The challenge hung in the air, and Sarah's heart raced. It had been so easy to talk about change in the safe confines of her office. Here, in front of Roger's sharp gaze, the stakes felt amplified. But she refused to shrink back. "I believe they can," she insisted. "And to back that up, I've outlined specific metrics to measure their impact." There was silence on the other end. Sarah seized the moment not as an opening for retreat, but as a chance to solidify her argument. She launched into specific data points, her preparation kicking in and taking over. Her thoughts flowed more smoothly than she expected, as if the very act of confronting her fears had unleashed a well of determination. But Roger interrupted, his tone critical yet probing. "You need to be aware of the potential fallout, Sarah. If you're advocating for something unproven, and it fails, it will affect you and the team. What will that mean for your reputation, Her heart clenched at his words, but instead of faltering, they fueled her resolve. "It means I will learn from it," she countered, her voice steady. "Every initiative bears risk, but we won't grow if we solely cling to what is familiar. True leadership is about taking calculated risks, and I've evaluated these risks." The exchange morphed into a strategic battle of wills, with Roger pressing for precision and cautious rationale, while Sarah defended the need for innovation and courage. For the first time, she felt a new strength well up inside her. She realized that this was not just a fight for her project. It was a pivotal moment in her development as a leader. After what felt like an eternity, Roger conceded slightly. "Okay, prepare a detailed proposal with those metrics you mentioned. We'll review it next week." It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a significant opening, a crack in the resistance. As she hung up, Sarah exhaled deeply, the weight on her shoulders less heavy now. She paused for a moment to collect her thoughts. The plan needed fine-tuning, and she had so much work ahead of her. But adrenaline coursed through her, igniting an exhilarating anticipation within. Decisions loomed ahead. Who else could she bring into her side? Which team members could become allies in this venture? Could they build a coalition strong enough to validate her vision? As she glanced out her window at the fading light, an unsettling realization settled in. Above all, her journey required more than just a presentation and data. It would necessitate profound trust and vulnerability. Could she find the courage to foster this among her peers, knowing she was still working through her own doubts? With a sense of determination, she returned to her desk, eager to refine her proposal. Just before she started typing, a new thought struck her. How could she ensure that trust would permeate not only her team dynamics, but also her relationship with Roger? She knew she had to take the next step. The moment of truth was near. The path ahead was still undefined, but she was committed to embracing it. The next challenge awaited her. What would it take to truly unite her team in vision and execution? Days turned into weeks as Sarah readied the final proposal for her workshops, the air in the office thick with anticipation. Each moment was an exercise in perseverance, but the luster of doubt was steadily chipped away. She had no time for hesitation. She had crossed a threshold in her journey, one leading away from mere survival towards an ambitious reclamation of her identity. The meeting day arrived, and the conference room buzzed with the low murmur of expectation. Sarah stood before her peers, feeling the weight of their curiosity and trepidations. She had collected potential metrics for her workshops, illustrating how collaborative environments fostered trust, creativity, and productivity. With each slide, she showcased tangible outcomes, offering a roadmap towards change. "Today, I'm not just discussing ideas," she began, her voice steady as she beheld the faces around her. "I'm presenting a strategy for transformation, a chance to redefine how we engage with one another." As she moved through her presentation, Sarah felt the energy shift, an undercurrent of possibility rippling through the room. When she transformed her vulnerability into a narrative of strength, her colleagues began nodding, engaged by the storytelling arc of overcoming obstacles. The fast accumulation of agreement generated momentum. But just as she felt the tide surging in her favor, Roger raised his hand. "Let's not forget business realities, Sarah. We still need to see if there's a true demand for these workshops," he pressed, skepticism etched onto his face. "Sure, Roger," she replied, the steel in her voice emerging. "But have you considered that demand can't be addressed without first creating an inviting platform? Growth requires an upfront investment in vulnerability and trust." The exchange electrified the room, the tension vibrant yet palpable. Colleagues began chiming in, advocating for Sarah's vision, articulating their desire for change echoing in strategy sessions. They were recognizing through her leadership that their untapped potential far exceeded boundaries Roger had established. The coalition she yearned for was forming before her eyes. After concluding her presentation with compelling points on projected KPIs and feedback loops, Sarah invited discussion. The collective energy shifted, now focused more intently on possibility rather than irritation. Let's give this a chance, Clara chimed in, sparking waves of agreement that cascaded across the table. Eager voices emerged, littering the air with their shared ambitions. As Sarah grasped the warmth of camaraderie, she felt a swell of satisfaction emerge, a stark contrast to the pain of judgment she had so recently endured. She had united a team, instigating a departure from discomfort and isolation, guiding them towards an understanding that everyone could contribute to a common vision. Roger, however, was not done. He leaned back, arms crossed, his disbelief palpable. Fine. We can pilot this for a month, but if participation falters, we'll re-examine the effectiveness. Deal, Sarah replied, her heart racing as she fought the urge to bask in her victory too long. It was the moment she had envisioned, yet the triumph felt like a fragile beginning. I appreciate your willingness to explore. As the discussion circled to logistics, Sarah noted both tangible strategies about the workshops and the sensation of growth reverberating within her. Weeks later, the first session unfolded in their newly created safe space. Employees gathered in a circle, bringing their hesitations and expectations to the open table with surprising candor. Sarah led them through activities designed to build trust, set intentions, and invite vulnerability. Each moment revealed hidden desires to connect, elements that had previously been dulled beneath everyday corporate routines. The tangible change blossomed like spring flowers breaking through winter's frost. They shared laughter, insights, and personal stories, nurturing an environment that had only known tension prior. The workshops became a canvas, painted with stories of hard-won strength, collaboration, and shared ambitions, each brushstroke representing a breakthrough and an indelible bond forming. As the session wrapped, applause filled the air, yet the true treasure lay not in its formality. It was the warmth radiating from her colleagues, the recognition of Sarah's growth reflected in shared smiles and hopeful glances. Just as encouragement enveloped her, Sarah dared to glimpse in the direction of Roger. His gaze had shifted from dismissive disdain to watchful contemplation, a transformation that filled her chest with newfound confidence. It was a confirmation. She hadn't merely survived. She had made a palpable impact. Months passed, and the workshops became etched in the firm culture, evolving from a mere idea into a celebrated legacy. Sarah's journey encompassed so much more than just the reshaping of team dynamics. She had redefined her trajectory, excavating a self-belief fortified by commitment to nurturing change. In this transformation, she achieved personal fulfillment, not only for herself, but also for her son Jake, who now witnessed a mother embodying resilience and ambition beyond circumstance. The profound recognition of her capabilities shimmered with each milestone her team celebrated, enhancing her confidence that now stood unyielding. As the sun dipped below the city skyline, bathing her office in warm hues of orange and gold, Sarah smiled to herself. She had conquered the barriers that once lay before her, but she knew this was but the beginning. More challenges awaited on the horizon, and she was ready to face them. Now, dear audience, this is your moment to join Sarah's transformative journey. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire growth and change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every interaction matters, and your support turns this story into a movement. Comment below your reactions and theories about Sarah's journey, as your insight could spark the next chapter of connection. And most importantly, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait, even one more second to share. This is the moment to show your support for relatable, life-changing narratives.